love the starter. I like the music that starts, right? We're going. Welcome to OnlyFems podcast, hosted by me, Iyandra Smith Bryan. And I'm excited about sharing my friend Lavinia Errico with you today. Lavinia is the visionary founder behind Equinox Fitness Studios, and she's a nationally acclaimed workplace and wellness entrepreneur. She's a speaker of essential truths on the subjects of value-driven entrepreneurship. And a little known tidbit is that even after selling Equinox for $500 million, zero, zero, zeros, Lavinia still felt very much like she was on a quest to discovering herself. And I'm so excited to share her story. Her passion for movement, dance, and full self expression has led Lavinia to recently create a new project, which is going to be revealed. Stay tuned. And in this new venture, Lavinia guides people to reclaim a life filled with magic through physical release and empowerment with ritual, intention, and joy. I'm so excited to have Lavinia on the podcast. I truly, truly admire her, and I'm excited about our friendship continuing to grow and develop. And she just has incredible energy, and her enthusiasm is for us all to just live with a more expansive mindset, wildly creative, and purposely impactful life. Play, fun, and bliss. This is my mantra, Lavinia Errico. I am so excited, Lavinia, to have you on the podcast. Welcome to OnlyFems.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and you are truly an inspiration. I mean, the fact that you had a dream, you built a dream, but that you continue to build dreams, it really shows every woman that they can do it. So I can't wait to just get into your journey and really, really show other women, how much they can also go ahead and pursue their dreams. So I always like to start off these conversations because I get curious too about it, about your childhood, going all the way back and just asking, how was that for you? And how did that frame who you are today?
So, first of all, I was so fortunate to have parents who really showed me what discipline looked like, and what hard work looked like. And that if you are focused and you work hard, that the outcomes are 9 times out of 10 going to be in your favor. And my dad, both my dad and mom, my mom was actually in the 50s. My mom was a very successful businesswoman when most women, it was unheard of. So
Yeah.
I was very fortunate that I constantly heard my mom's stories. My mom, um, she was a career woman. She got married at 32. And she always tells the story that when she came back from her honeymoon, she had already been a regional manager with a female um, retail clothing line, fashion line. And she came back from her honeymoon and they offered her this huge promotion.
Mm.
And she was like, I'm having a baby. I believe I got pregnant on my honeymoon. And they were like, you're too old. What are you talking about?
Oh.
Because like in
She's
19
32.
in 1959, that was to be 32 and have a baby was considered ancient. Like they just
Yeah.
assumed my mom was going to be a career woman the rest of her life, even though she got married. So I really believe that having my mom as a role model in a time when it was unheard of, like I said, for women
Yeah.
to forge forward and have a seat at the table, right? So
Yeah.
that, and my mom always said to us, you can do whatever you want to do as long as you work hard. You have to be focused, you have to be disciplined, you have to work hard, you have to study, you have to be the best version of yourself. So, not that I necessarily believe that you can be anything you want, because if you're, a 5'6" man, the chance of being an NBA player is probably not really
Yeah.
good. But nonetheless, those words were my mantra. Like I was very fortunate to hear that, and to have my mom talk about her level of success when, everybody else kind of around me was housewives or moms. And my mom just had a different energy, she had a different spirit because she was that woman. She was that career woman.
Yeah. Oh, you could be whatever you want.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, so hearing that over and over in your mind, I'm sure, and transitioning from childhood to adult, how did you come to terms with what is it that I want?
Well, first of all, my happy place and my passion when I was young was dancing. So I started dancing at 5 years old, and it was a huge, huge part of my life. And the thing that's so amazing is dance is still my happy place. It's something I love to do, and I still take classes and really enjoy that. So I really believe that that discipline and dance, was a discipline. You had to practice and you had to, it really took something. And so for me, that was my first dream was, oh, I'm going to be a dancer. I'm going to be a dancer. And I was very fortunate. I went on, I was a rockette. I did a couple shows with the New York City um, Radio City Rockettes, and that was amazing. And I working out became something that I had to do because, especially in those days, to be a dancer, you had to be practically a twig. You had to be so skinny. So I started working out just because I wanted to, be leaner, be thinner, and so forth. But the truth of it was, at one point, I got that workout bug. Like that just became something that was like, whoa, I just love doing it. And I was teaching. And when I wasn't teaching, I remember starting a program in college um, at USC. And I went to Jane Fonda studio and I went to Richard Simmons studio and I took all these classes. And then because I was a dancer, I was able to just pick up the choreography. And I started teaching down at USC, and I put out signs all over the sororities and come and take this class. It was at the atrium, and I
Yeah.
literally, it was on donation only. And
Wow.
the sorority girls would come and they would take the classes, and I had my little boom box. And so, I
Why
mean,
am I imagining you right now?
but
So
the
cool.
truth of it was, like, in those days, we didn't use the word entrepreneur. Like, you like, I just love doing this, and I wanted to share it. And the truth is, I need to make some extra money. I had to have a little side hustle. I come from a big family, and I remember my mom when she dropped me off. It was like, we're paying for your school, we're paying for your housing, and that's a little bit of money for food, and the rest of that you're going to have to figure out on yourself. Which I think at that moment you're thinking, whoa. And then it's like, no, I'm resourceful. I can figure it out. I was very fortunate that my dad had all these delicatessens in New York City, and I worked with them since I was like 10 years old. And so you figure it out. You learn how to figure it out. And I was very lucky that it was, doing things that felt good, that I just loved
Oh,
doing. So,
I
from there after college, I, dabbled in a lot of different things. I was living in LA. Working out was always part of it, teaching a little bit. Uh, yeah. And then I came back to New York and I started working. One of my close friends at the time worked for Lancome, was, a big makeup beauty line.
yeah.
And I got into their executive program, and I started doing that, and that was probably where I learned a lot about, marketing, PR, understanding sales. We had to go through an incredible amount of sales training. Um, so yeah, and then I was there for a couple years, kept getting promoted, kept getting promoted, kept getting promoted, and I loved it. Like I loved beauty. I was still
Mm.
working out, still doing that, but we were living on the Upper West Side. My brothers and I lived in the same building, and we were constantly complaining that somebody needs to open a great gym here on the Upper West Side. Like we had to schlep. I had to go to one gym to do this, and then go to another place to do a little bit of aerobics, and then downtown if I wanted to do a little bit more hardcore bodybuilding. And at the time, I was really into that. And so, I was schlepping all over New York City, and we just kept talking about it and talking about it at first, saying, someone needs to do this, someone needs to do this. And then, I don't, yeah. And then we ended up doing it. So,
I mean,
and trust
wow.
me, we did not have a big business plan. We did not have like, it was like we were in our 20s when we opened our first club. And actually our first club wasn't even in New York, and it wasn't an Equinox. Um, we opened up our first club, and it was called Westchester Health and Fitness, and it was in Westchester, about 20 minutes out of the city. And the thing that was interesting then, now that I started years later watching Shark Tank, and you have your proof
Yeah.
of concept. So we kind of like, we were, not that we thought about it, but we
Yeah.
went up there, we kind of created this little proof of concept. Can we make this thing work? Can we do this? And we did, and then the next thing, we were on to the next, into the next.
Oh,
And yeah, I mean, it was just, we worked hard. And
yes.
the truth of it was magic with the three of us, because it was
Oh, tell me
myself.
about that.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, because that is so interesting to me that you and your true brothers came together to build, which became huge. But I mean, sometimes it's hard to have partners, right? To build this dream.
Actually, for me personally, I love collaboration. I love partners, and I very rarely, because I invest in a lot of young brands now and entrepreneurs. And the truth is, I don't like to invest in when there's only one founder,
Oh,
because I've been through it. I understand that very rarely can one person have the genius in every lane.
yeah.
Like my one brother was like genius in the finance and real estate. And I mean, that guy, my brother could just make deals happen. I mean, he's like a deal maker, he's genius in that, like genius. And then my other brother is just amazing at, design and building and just making the most beautiful spaces. And at that time, even with the least amount of money, we had to do things on a very tight budget in the
Yeah.
beginning. And then we all had the passion for fitness. We were all athletes and dancers and so forth. So that was where there was that, a little bit of, we could cross over in different areas of the fitness. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it was just, and then I did a lot of the marketing and the sales, and really worked close with all the PR and creating all the content and creating new brand. We
Yeah.
just kept, I mean, it was such a synergy with the three of us.
Such a compliment. Is that important to like have someone that has something you don't have? The compliment has to be right.
To this day, I'm working on creating a new brand right now. And I am like determined to find my partner, because I
Oh,
really understand the importance of it.
yeah.
Um, and I have this thing where, not that you can't hire it, because you can, but when you have what it takes to be a founder, and really it's a bit of another level, and
Wow.
so yeah, that's my belief system.
Oh,
I really love that. I love working in that capacity, in that way, maybe because I was so successful the first way in it,
yeah.
time that I really feel that. And also all the projects that I've done since then, I love collaborations. I love working with people. I love having that connection, and being like, okay, that's your lane and you're a genius, and passing that over. And then, I mean, I
And
just
coming,
find
yeah.
that everything pops in a bigger way.
It just flows. It's just because everybody knows what they're responsible for. And one thing you guys said was all three of you were passionate about this dream.
Hmm.
Like this was all three of your dreams. And so everybody had their sort of foot on the pedal. And I'm just
I'm
thinking,
going
because
to tell you
yeah,
though, it's interesting because you use the word dream, and
yeah,
uh, I don't even know if it was our dream. It was like we were in it. You know,
Oh,
like we were just passionate about it, but like we never had this dream, or at least I didn't, to like build something huge. You know, at first we
mm.
were just filling a need.
Oh,
You know, like we were filling a need of
yes.
something that was just missing. I mean, I think all of us for many years, we just thought like it was great to do something you loved and to make a living out of it. To make a living, put a roof over your head, put food on the table. You know, we weren't like, oh my God, we want to build this huge brand that's going to be national and international. And like that wasn't, at least for me, I can't speak for my brothers, but for me, it was just like, I was just so happy that we were doing something we loved, that we were impacting people, like we were changing people's lives. You know, at the time, there wasn't a lot of really great stuff in the area of movement and exercise and what people really understood, you know, about the importance of movement and of how important it is. I mean, it is the best medicine. You know, they
Yeah.
didn't know that. Like we had to kind of bring them along and teach them and let them understand this and you know, present it in a way that got them really inspired and motivated, right?
Yeah.
It was all of that. And then you know, it was like every year it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I would say after we were in it for about 6 years of hard work, like girl, I'm talking like, you know, you're up writing notes at like 5:30 in the morning, you know, or I had a little tape recorder next to my bed. And if I'd wake up and I'd have an idea in the middle of the night, I was like going
Record.
with my tape recorder because you just, it was like you just kept downloading ideas, you know, downloading. And
Oh,
so I would say at about 6 years in, after being open 6 years and then a couple years before we opened, and maybe it was 8 years in for me, that was when the dream started getting bigger. Like that was when you
wow.
started realizing, wow, like we're onto something huge here, like this really,
Yeah.
like, but in the beginning it wasn't that. It was just doing something you loved, being passionate about it, impacting people's lives,
Right.
making a difference. And then the next level came, you know.
And then you said something. You said you guys saw a need in the community, a
Yeah,
problem that needed solving. And
exactly.
and and there are so many people that want to get into entrepreneurship, but they don't know where to begin. They're like, I don't want to work for anybody. I want to work for myself. And I think that's incredible advice. Well, look around you. What problems do you think need solving? What problems can you solve? What do you love to do that could contribute to that solution?
Yeah,
So, I
and you
mean,
know, the other thing that
that's
I
huge.
tell people a lot is not always what do you love to do, but what are you good at?
Oh yeah.
Like, what are you really good at? You know what I
What are
mean?
you good at?
What are you good at? Like, what is something? Because when you're good at something and then you start doing it and you start getting success and success, very often you start loving that,
Oh,
you know. But like so often when people, I see it all the time with young people, it's like, I want fashion because I love fashion.
yeah.
I want fashion. And it's like, okay, but you you don't draw very well. You're not a, like, how do we build this? You know, but then when I work with them and I can connect to like things that they're good at, and then maybe they're good at writing or they're good at this, and then we start getting them more into like PR. And then before you know it, they're doing PR for fashion.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
it's like it's really, and then they open up their own PR, fashion PR, beauty and fashion PR
Yes.
company. Like you have to think, you have to like look at what you're good at. I really believe for
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, and then look at the white space. I'm always looking at where's their white space? Where is there a little white space that we could solve a problem, you know?
Oh, I see.
Um,
I like to call it the sweet spot, right? The sweet spot is where your gifts and talents meet your passions. Okay. So, because like, I mean, there are things that I have to say, Lavinia, there are things that I'm good at, but I hate. Like, people say I'm really good at fundraising. I hate it. So how can you find out of the gifts and talents that you're giving something that you actually love? So I love that. I want to hear more about this white space and really saying so it's imagining all the things around you that could be innovated, could be better.
How I always created was really through my own need. And I'll explain that to you. We had opened up Equinox maybe about, let's see, maybe 2 years, 2.5 years. And I jumped out of bed and literally fell flat on my face. I broke my cheek. I hit my head. I mean, I literally jumped up. It was a Sunday morning. I thought I was actually late for work. I thought, oh my God, I'm late. It's 7 o'clock. And I realized it was Sunday. My sister was sleeping on my couch. And I jumped up and land, like I said, I ended up going to Lenox Hill Hospital. And the doctor says, you're like, they ran my tests. They said, my God, everything looked great. And he said, I think you're under stress. And I was like 32 years old, maybe. I'm thinking I'm in the best shape of my life. Like I had a resting heart rate of something like 60. My body fat was literally like 18 or 19%. My cholesterol level was, something like 140. I mean, I was in like tip top athletic shape. And I'm thinking, how? I work out so much. Like, how could I be so stressed? Like this stuff gets out of my body. Anyway, but it started the journey for me of what does it really mean to be fit? What does it really mean to be healthy? Because if I'm not healthy, I don't know what healthy was at that stage, right? So I really started digging into what does it mean to be healthy? And about a year into this escapade, I realized that in order to be healthy, you have to be spiritually healthy, mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, and physically healthy.
Oh,
And in that long process of doing all different kinds of work while I was working, and started learning meditation, and I got a little bit of acupuncture, and I started doing some other modalities. That was when I realized, wow, I want to bring this to the world.
yeah.
Like I saw the opportunity. And from that, I created a wellness center. So that was the birthing of the Equinox Wellness Center.
Oh,
So, like I'm just sharing that because very
yes. I mean,
often
that's huge.
it
Yeah.
comes from that. Another time, a couple years later, I started getting these terrible brown spots all over my face. It was horrible. I like came in one day and I thought I got paint on my face and I started brushing it off and I'm like, what is this? And I realized it wasn't coming off. I started going dermatologist after dermatologist. Anyway, that became the next business was a Medi Spa.
Mm.
So then the next thing I know, we launched an Equinox Medi Spa with
Oh,
different modalities. So, for me, so much of how I get inspired is almost through breakdowns. Fall on your face. A year later, you're a wellness center. Have skin discoloration, learning all the different things you can do about it. And the next thing you know, we're launching a Medi Spa. So um, I believe so much is like right there, but
yeah.
we're looking everywhere else to find it. But so often it's like right in our
Yes.
journey. It's
Right.
right there. We just have to like be a little present, be able to see it. I mean, even what I'm
Yeah.
creating now is coming out of something, a need. It's coming out of something that's like missing. I had 2 years of craziness between divorce and a couple other personal things, and my finance guy doing pretty horrible things just
Oh,
got me in a really terrible place. And then when I
Wow.
came out of it, I realized, wow, like so many people, I really got to see where so many people are going through these and they have nowhere to go to have
Mhm.
these conversations. So it's like so often the things that I create, that I get inspired to do, that I realize is missing because of something that I've gone through that
Yeah.
was less than, that was a bit challenging. Like that's why they say your challenges create your glory, right?
Right. Oh, I love that. And you actually went through the challenge, but you actually thought about, okay, how can I help other people,
Yeah.
to not go through what I just went through? How can I make this better?
Yeah.
You know, a-
Absolutely.
and build this incredible brand and doing that.
And that's kind
I
of how I always did it. Like that was just my trajectory. I can't speak to everyone else's, but mine always comes from something that mm, a situation or an issue that might have happened. And then I realized, well, a lot of other people are suffering around this. And how can I help? Like, how can I help people have less? For me, it's always about less suffering in their life, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever felt, I mean, you've done some amazing things. So have you ever felt like, man, am I really qualified to do this?
Every
Am I
day.
really qualified? Okay.
Like every day. It like I remember at one point feeling like I remember saying to somebody, no, like I got offered a situation, a really amazing role, and I'm like, but I'm not a PhD. I'm not a doctor. Like I'm just like this. They're like, video, we know who you are. And I was so, no, I think it needs to have a PhD for this wellness. Not
Yeah.
me. So yeah, all the time. I mean, I'm working on something now for women in the Middle East, and they want me to curate all the wellness. So it's a women's TV network.
Yeah.
And they want me to curate all of the wellness and the personal development for it. And I have to tell you, I definitely had a few nights of like, am I really qualified for this? Is
Yes.
this like above? And yeah, I think if you're a human being, you're gonna always feel that way. I mean, unless you're
And you just do it. You just do it anyway because you're just
you just
doing
and
it.
also because you do it with like I don't do it with arrogance. I don't do
Right.
it with like, oh, I got this. Like I'm a collaborator. So if I don't
Yeah.
know, I go to other people and I say, hey, like we need your genius.
Oh,
So it's like I'm really great at curating. Like I am a good curator because I love people. I love to hear people's stories. So I'm constantly knowing, oh my God, this person would be great for that. This person would be great for that. So yeah, I
yeah.
mean, um, that's just
I
that's just kind of how I work. That's just kind of my vibe, my energy to make things happen,
yeah.
And the truth is I always ask. Like I'm always with different women's groups. I love my women's circles and we have a lot of amazing entrepreneurs and you know, when we get together, the first question I always ask is just let us know what is the one thing that we can help you to up level your game.
Oh,
Like, how can this
I
group
love
just
that.
help you to up level your game? Like, what can we do?
Love that.
And you know
Yeah.
what? If we could be six women, and before you know it, ricocheting, all these things are happening. And a month later, it's like this one made that connection, this one made that connection, this one made that, and then stuff like really amazing stuff is getting done. Like
Yeah.
that's what gets me so excited. It's not
Oh. I said we gotta talk about that. The power of the circle.
Yeah. I'm all about like I'm obsessed with women's circles. Um, I really am. I just love them and I love having them regardless, even when people don't realize we're going to have a circle. Like,
Yeah.
because once you set the intention for that and the heart for that, yeah, magic happens.
Oh,
Magic just, the, the women's circle is really, it's magical. Yeah.
I mean, growing up in an environment where I was always told to like beware of women in the sense that, oh, people aren't going to want the best for you. Be careful, and a lot of it, rightfully so, is because there's always been this perception that women really don't help other women. And as I became an adult and I actually saw that this is not the case, you just got to be around the right people and the right connection, but you also have to open yourself up to receive that energy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, what do you tell to women who are like, oh, I don't know if I am open to being in a circle. I'm not comfortable with being so vulnerable with my dreams or my wishes or my desires. I mean, how can they begin to even start feeling connected to other women?
First of all, like you said, the key is the right environment, putting yourself in the right environment.
Yeah.
Um, Vulnerability is a superpower. It's a superpower. I mean, nothing, for me, it's a superpower. So when you're willing to be vulnerable, um, especially when you've done the work, like if you're a woman that's working on yourself spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, um, and you can come from a different place of vulnerability, right? Because you're
Mhm.
aware. There's an awareness, there's a consciousness about what you're going through. You're not, um, you know that you're going to get through it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I
Oh,
don't care how dark it is, and I've been through the darkness. I know, like I have that. I know I'm going to make it through this. It could be ugly. It could be dirty. It could be messy and it
yeah.
sticky. And it is all
Yeah.
those things. Because to get through that is not pretty. It's got all that texture, right? But when you
Yeah.
have that inside of your heart and your soul, and I'm going to get through this. I am going to get through this. You know,
Yeah.
that's when it allows you to be a little bit more vulnerable. But if
Oh,
you're wearing the mask,
oh yeah.
if you're wearing that mask, you'll never be able to be vulnerable, you know?
Oh,
So the first thing what I would say is to somebody who was do the work, get in touch with some of your story, like the dark story,
right. And
you
just,
know.
oh, I love that. When I met you, the environment we were in, it was a
Yeah,
very safe environment.
right.
So, and I was like, Lavinia is very vulnerable and very open. And I was so impressed by that.
Hmm.
Because it kind of, when you see someone that's achieved so much in their life, still present themselves in a quite vulnerable way, it kind of inspires you, right?
Right.
Oh, I don't have anything to hide. Why am I putting up a facade? And and you actually become more secure that way. So you were incredibly inspiring to me.
Oh,
This
thank
notion of
you.
vulnerability, and that it does start from within. You have to do the internal work in
Yes.
order for you to even begin to accept this sort of love, the right energy, the right minded people into your life.
Right.
And I want to talk a little bit because you had mentioned building the right team, right? So you guys are building, and I can imagine as this brand gets bigger and bigger and bigger, how do you ensure that you're attracting the right people into the company? How are you making the right hires? How is that process for
I
you?
mean, first of all, I want to let you know you don't make all the right hires.
Okay. Yeah.
You just don't. The advice I would give, though, as soon as you realize it isn't the right hire, you got to let them go.
Okay.
We used to have
Fire quickly.
the what?
Fire quickly. Don't
I
take
mean, if
time.
you realize that you did not hire the right person, you just realize that this is not a fit energetically. They're not getting along with the team. They're just. I mean, look, there have been times when I've said, "Oh, I'm not sure if this was the right hire," but then we work through it. But on a real, when you just know this was not whatever this, they don't fit in your culture.
Oh,
Like that's why
yeah.
you have to so know your culture. I'm the culture we had was, we worked really, really hard. I mean, I don't know today. I mean, everybody wants to work remotely.
Yes.
They want, what is it like, work life balance. We didn't have work life balance in our 20s and 30s. There was no work life balance. I don't, I don't, I tell people, entrepreneurs, that I said, if you're looking for work life balance, don't be an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
because the first
We're
10
not-
years there will be no work life balance. You are just going to work. You're going to work, and you're going to work harder. Just get your 5 needs in. Make sure you get your sleep, make sure you get your movement, make sure you get your hydration, make sure you get your food, and make sure you get some affection. Like, those are the needs that every human being needs. Like, we need those. Get those 5 needs in, and everything else, you're going to work. You're going to, like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you are just going to work, and hopefully you love what you're doing. So working down, like, I never felt like I'm working so hard. I mean, there were days, but for the most part, it was like I jumped out of bed in the morning and I couldn't wait to get into work, to create and to do and to fix and to create and to, I was so turned on by it.
Yeah. I mean,
But,
it didn't
and,
feel like work to you. It didn't
um,
feel like work.
it didn't feel like work. But, just to finish that question about your team, we were very lucky that as we were growing, people were coming to us. Like, people were coming to us with like great ideas. They were coming to us with ideas for programming or ideas for this. And I was the queen of saying, let's pilot it. So we would pilot, a program somebody wanted to do, and bring them into, them to meet with the team and the managers in different clubs, and whoever, if there was a manager that loved it and said, I'll take that on as a pilot, they would pilot it and see how it goes. And then very often, if it was very successful, that person would now become, we got to see how they work. We got to see how they deliver, could they
Yeah.
deliver what they said they were going to do? And when they did, very often it was like we would bring them on in a more permanent position. So,
Mm.
like, a lot of stuff kind of happened a little bit organically, and we're really big about promoting within.
Yeah.
We promoted within. I mean, there were very few positions that we did not promote within.
I
Um,
love that you piloted because you were very intentional about, okay, let's first see how we work together. Let's see if this is even a great idea for us, if it fits within our culture, before just hopping on board and saying, okay, come on, let's do this permanently.
right.
You
No, no, no.
know, so
We
you had
didn't
an
do
opportunity
anything
there.
permanently. Because at any given time, we could have been piloting like 10 different programs,
Yeah.
and we were we had to see what would stick. Like, okay,
Mm.
what got traction? What did people like? How did it work? Like, were we able to execute the deliverables? Like, we just, some of the stuff, some ideas that honestly I thought were like going to be grand slam home runs. I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Got like no traction. And other times there were things that were like, menza, not so sure if that's going to work. And it was just, it just took off. So you
Yeah.
never know, you have to be like, that's another thing. Like, you've got to be open.
Yeah.
You just have to, there has to be an openness. You can't be so tight and controlling of everything, but then around your culture and your brand, you do just always have to make sure that, is it culturized? Are we sure that it has all the values that
Mm.
our brand stands for? Yeah. So
That's important because we're at Quan Fury, we're operationalizing our culture now, putting together our values, our operating principles. How did you go through that whole process? Of course, when you're an early company, everybody knows what matters to
yeah.
everybody, but how did you go through the process of making sure that everybody at the company fully understood the values of the company?
Okay. So first of all, the leadership has to live by the values.
Yeah.
Like, you have to live and die by what you are, what what you're saying are our values. So if
Mm,
you as founders, if we did not live by that, they nobody would have, those would have been nothing more than a cultural phase, that little
oh,
phrase, or a mission statement that people
yeah,
wrote in a room and didn't. I mean,
yeah.
how annoying is that, right? People write these
You
mission
have to live it. Yes.
statements, like their culture statements, and you're like, in what world are you living that culture? Like,
Yes.
it's nothing more than verbiage, like, because you're not living that culture. So you have to cheat. You first, you have to show, like, don't tell me, show me, right?
Yeah.
You have to show. You had to show up every day in every cell of your body, living your culture. And
Oh,
that's not always easy. Like, there were times when, whew, so you have to show up vibrant and connecting, and you hard, like, you just have to show up in integrity, and
yeah.
all the things that we really valued, the
Set
things
the
that were
tone.
really important to us. And then we had to constantly have it, weaved in. It isn't just a one time bring everybody in and you do a little team meeting and you're done. Like, that message has to constantly be weaved into your verbiage, weaved into your training, to
Yeah.
really understand, like, who we are is like, we we are literally going to change the way fitness looks. Like, who we were is, we believed we were more important than your doctor, because we are doing preventative medicine.
Yeah.
That's what we like. That was like, we had our staff walking around, they were like proud. Before that, nobody was proud to be a fitness trainer. It was not a sought after job that anybody wanted. It was just not, you know but when the level of expertise we made them, and again, we were like, we you guys are preventative medicine doctors,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
professionals. I said, the doctor, you go and all you go, and they are diagnostically testing you. Oh, you got it, you don't. We are keeping people healthy.
Yeah. Oh,
It's preventative medicine. So when you understand that it isn't just about getting somebody biceps or an abs, like, we didn't adhere to that. Like, that wasn't our mantra, like, come here and look hot in a bikini.
no.
No. Like, that is a byproduct of it. You'll look good, you'll look better, but it was really like, for us, it was about, again, we're preventative medicine.
Right.
We are
You
going to
went to
keep
the
you.
heart. You went to the heart of it, the heart of the
Yeah,
mission.
the truth of it. Like, if you don't have
Yeah.
your health, you have nothing.
Yeah.
You don't
And
have.
your employees, all because you did such a good job of teaching
Right,
why your employees bought in and they were excelling,
right.
because they were like, hold on now, we're helping people, we're preventing people
We're
from
making a
dying.
difference.
Yeah.
And even like our maintenance people, like, I mean, we would do these surveys, and uh, you know, so often at the so many things that people would write would be like, this club is so clean, it's immaculate, and I shower more at Equinox than I do in my own shower, and it's your showers are clean. Like, and I would read this to our maintenance people. I'm like, this is another reason why they're here, because of how clean this place is. And that made them feel so good. Like, they really felt like part of the team, like,
Yeah.
that they really understood that what they do makes a big difference.
Oh,
Whereas so often, people that would be doing the maintenance, they don't even have you on their radar.
oh
They
yeah.
only talk to the trainers, and they don't wouldn't talk to them. Like, we just included everyone. And the truth of it is, because we believed it,
Oh,
you
I
know?
love that, Lavinia. You showed appreciation to
Yeah,
everybody. You showed everybody how they were pushing this wagon
right.
across the line, and
Exactly.
so everybody ended up excelling at what they were doing. That's incredible. That's incredible. I as we go through, because we talked about the team, we talked about building and partnership. I want to talk a little bit about capital, right? Because I'm just thinking about persons that want to go into business. How hard was this for you? Do you just go ahead and do it and just hope that you get the clients to continue to sustain yourself, or do you think it's critical to get some injection of capital, not just in the beginning, but as you continue to scale and grow?
First of all, I want to be completely transparent that that was not my lane.
Oh
That
yeah.
was my brother
Yeah.
Daniel's lane.
Yes,
So
yes.
that was his lane, and that's why he was so good at it. He was
Yeah.
just amazing.
Know your lane, people.
What? Excuse
I
me?
said you have to know your lane.
Exactly. You have to know your lane. And he was amazing at that. In the beginning, like everything we did was just bootstrapped.
Oh yeah.
We just, yeah, everything was just bootstrapped, family and friends. So, um,
was there was there ever a point where you felt, and maybe not, because Equinox continued to grow and grow and grow. It just
it
got
did.
bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
Was there ever a point you were like, "Oh my gosh, like this, are we gonna just is this getting too out of control? Are we growing too much?"
Well,
I mean,
look, I would say, and again, I can't speak for my brothers but I can only speak for myself that, you know, um, I mean, that's why we sold. I mean, that's why it was like, because at some point, when you're an entrepreneur and you're a builder, like you're a creator, you create and you have a concept. And when it gets to be like it got to be almost like so big, it becomes a little more corporate. So what
yeah.
you need, your needs are different. And yes, we hired those needs. We hired the Wharton Business School person to work with us, and you hire the person that's their lane, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I would say for me, at towards the end before we sold,
Yeah.
um, that's not my lane. I'm a
Oh,
builder. I'm a builder. I'm not I like to build. I like to create. Like I'm a creator. Like sometimes honestly, I wish I could get my brain to shut down. Like I have a vision
oh,
for everything. Like a vision for this, a vision for that, like so much.
yeah.
Um, but when it started getting to the point where the meetings are just like very corporate type of meetings,
Yeah.
just sitting around with the P&L and with this. And I mean, after like towards the last year, I was just like, oh God, get me out of these meetings,
Yeah.
put me in
You're
that
the
room,
visionary.
just let me keep creating. I'm great at
Yeah.
that. But yeah,
Yeah, you're the
we were
visionary.
very lucky. I just feel like we worked hard, the timing was right, and we created something that people wanted. People wanted it from 25 to 85. Like there's not a lot of places that everybody can live in there. You know,
All
we
inclusive.
were just so lucky that everybody could coexist. Like we could
Yeah.
have like the coolest, hippest people, and you could also have like the more mature conservative group. Like that was one thing about Equinox that was really special. Um, that everybody could coexist together. It was like because everybody was coming there
Yeah.
for something good. Like they were coming there for their health. They were coming to move. They were coming, it would just it there's not a lot of places where you could have so many different demographics show up and feel comfortable. We
And
used to
feel all at
say,
home.
look, we want the woman who's in the navy blue suit with the pearls
Yeah.
to come in and feel comfortable, and yet we want the guy that's tatted up with,
Yeah.
for them to feel comfortable. Like that was our goal. We wanted that. Like that was our intention. We were very intentional that everyone would feel comfortable here, you know.
Right. I love that. And you created a safe space for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to me. And you being this visionary, Lavinia, I mean, this builder, how did it feel when your baby, you no longer had your baby? How did it feel when you sold the company? Was it like, what happened? What did I do? Or was it freeing? I can go on to build some more
Right.
global businesses.
Um, well, the interesting thing is, which I would have never expected in a million years, was when we first sold, it was in December, and I just kept saying, it hasn't hit me yet. Like I just kept thinking, oh, it hasn't hit me yet. It hasn't hit me yet. And that was because, I mean, it took a year, a hard year of selling, when you have all the different people and you have the forensic accountants coming and you're just like constantly in this thing. And we were working right through it
Yeah.
because, my brother kept saying, if this deal goes south, we're got to get right back in it full time.
Yes.
So when we were fine, I mean, it was like that. It is what it is, right? If you sell, great. If not, you put your big girl boots on and you do what you have to do. And it wasn't like I hated it by any means, but um, yeah. So when we sold, I just kind of thought, oh my God, every day is going to feel like 4th of July. Every day is going to be fireworks because I created this, and we earned it. It wasn't like it wasn't like somebody gave you a gift and you
Yeah.
worked every day and you worked hard for all those years. And I just thought every day was going to feel great. And the truth is, we went away on vacation after Christmas and we came home, and my, my partner at the time went to work, and my son, I dropped him off at school, and I'm walking out of the courtyard after dropping him off. He was in second grade. And all of a sudden, it was like everything just closed in on me, like closed in. I was like walking out, and like the sound in my ears got muffled, and everything just like, and I just thought, wow. First of all, at first I thought, am I having a stroke? Like, what's going on? I didn't know what was happening. And I realized that I was just having like this crazy amount of post traumatic stress because this was the first time in my life that I had nowhere to go.
Oh,
Like
wow.
I just had nowhere to go. Like
Yeah.
nowhere. I was like, I've never had that. Since I was a little kid, you go to school, you go to dancing, you go to sports, you go
Yeah.
here, you go there, you go to work, you go to, I mean, my whole life I had somewhere to
Mhm.
go. Every minute of every day I had my to-do list was over the top, right?
Yeah.
And I realized as I'm walking out, like normally I'm walking out and I'm running to this club and that club and then downtown and I got a lunch meeting and I got this meeting and nothing.
Mm.
And I was lost. And the truth is, I stayed that lost for a while. And then I realized, all right, I have some work to do. Got, started doing some deep work on myself. And yeah, I realized that my whole life, so much of who I am was always about what I had accomplished, my accomplishments. My whole identity was always on being a dancer and being the great dancer and being a good student and being a great friend and being a good sister and being a good this and, you know,
Oh,
being a good businesswoman and creating that. Like my whole identity was on all of these things that were outside of me, and I didn't build that deep knowing if I wasn't doing something, if I
yeah.
wasn't, you know, getting accolades and getting acknowledged for stuff like that. I just didn't know how to be in the
Oh,
being of that.
wow.
And
That
yeah,
is
it
so deep.
was a while, and it was interesting because I kept getting offers to do all different kinds of things. Then oh, you can work with us on this, and you could do this, and I remember one of my mentors said to me, "Why? Why do you want to do that?" My first reaction was, because I'm really good at this. Like I can just keep creating. He's like, Lavinia, Yes, you can, but you need to stay quiet. You need to stay still. You need to connect to you, not all these outside things. And that was a journey, a pretty inspiring journey. And I really, it brought me to the next phase of my life, which just makes me realize like joy is an inside job.
Yeah.
Success isn't about like real happiness isn't have anything to do with how much money you have or where you graduated college or the zip code you live at or the car that you drive or any of those things. That's
Oh,
not that's not where happiness lives, right? It lives in a very different place, and you can't find it on ways.
right.
You've got to have the courage, and it takes courage to do that real inner work, you know.
Oh, Lavinia, thank you so much for sharing that. That's so deep,
Mm,
because I think most people would think, oh, you sell your company. Yeah, it is 4th of July every day.
yeah,
But you actually, in you saying that, you actually show so much of us that so much of us are chasing,
yeah,
right? We're chasing the next thing because the next thing is validating us and we're using that external validation to make us feel secure. We're chasing, oh, I got to get the next accomplishment. Or the title is so wrapped up with who I am when the title is in you. The
exactly,
accomplishment is in you,
right,
and truly looking within and saying, I internally can validate myself, the essence of who I am. I don't need this or that or anything else.
right.
But what it also shows to me so much more is so many of us believe that we can literally cure ourselves once we are rich, once we have the money.
No,
And you're saying no.
no, not even actually, it exacerbates a lot of things that are out of balance and are not aligned.
Yeah.
Because when you're working, there's a lot of distraction. You don't see it, you don't feel it, you
Mhm.
don't see where things are out of balance, you don't see where things are not, you don't see where you're incongruent in your word, you don't see where
Yeah.
you're not living you're proving your worth all the time, you don't
Oh,
see where you're not living your worth. So as soon as you stop working because you have all this money, um, then you start feeling, and then what happens is, at least what I found, is nobody wants to feel it, so then they go back to work right away. they
oh
they say, oh, I'm going to create this, I'm going to do this, and before you know it, they're because they don't want to feel it. They don't even know yet what they're feeling, but they don't want to feel it. There's a discomfort in that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting journey, and what I wish for people today is to do the work when they're on the journey,
Oh,
to
yeah.
get
Don't wait.
present to what really is moving you, grooving you, calling you. Why is it that you want to be that successful? Like when you start understanding, a lot of times you're doing that from a place of like, I'll show them. I'll
Oh,
show that teacher that said I wouldn't amount to anything, or I'll show, like you don't even sometimes realize where that root cause was that caused you to get on that wheel of more and more. I want more. I want this.
yeah.
Like it's usually something negative. It's
Oh,
usually something negative that hooks you, and that's what drives you. I see it all the time with women. Like all of a
yeah.
sudden, like they
We
think their
have to prove
husband's
ourselves.
they think their husband's cheating, and the next thing you know, they needed to lose 50 pounds for the last 10 years, but now they
Yes.
think their husband's cheating, and that's what gets them motivated. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to show him, I'm going to be more beautiful, I'm going to get this, and it's like, whoa, it's like fear. Like
Yeah.
so often, it's fear that motivates us to do something and be successful. But when you're doing something from fear,
Right.
it has a certain vibration, it's got a certain frequency.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a frequency. Like I wish I would have had a mentor when I was younger that would have talked to me about this stuff and helped me connect to that, because I probably would have done things a little differently during that, 10, 12 years. I wouldn't have been proving my worth so hard. I would have owned it. I would
Oh,
have,
yeah.
and I don't believe the outcome would have been any less. I just think my nervous system would have been a lot less. My soul would have been a little brighter. My spirit
Yeah.
um, would have been, um, it would have had a different texture to it.
Oh, it's I love it how you said shift from proving your worth to living your worth.
Yeah.
And I just feel like you're like speaking to so many people, but you're definitely speaking to me. I
Mhm.
actually had coffee with my boss last week, and he said, "Iyandra, you don't need to prove yourself anymore.
Mm,
Like go over and beyond to show that you're good enough.
mm,
Because people know it and people can sense it and people can feel it.
right.
Just be you, be who you are." And I just wonder for so many of us that are really struggling to do away with proving. And like you said, we're doing away. We often have this urge to prove because there's something that may have happened, whatever it was, our child or something.
Yeah.
And we often feel like, okay, we have to show everybody that we've made it. How can we begin to go through this whole process of looking inward? What does that entail? What are some of the steps we can take to shifting from this proving to just living, to being?
First of all, what I do with all the young women that I mentor, I have them spend at least a day outside in nature, no phone, no music, nothing except them, a pen, and a journal. And just start asking like some questions. Really start asking, like, what were the most painful times of my life? Where did I feel? When did I feel so, sad, so lost, so hurt? Like start looking at all of that, like get in touch with what what's how did I respond to that? You know, like really start looking at things that created stories,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, I mean, and really the more you connect to yourself, like write down, what do I love about myself?
Oh, that's
What
a
do
big
I
one.
value? Like get in touch with like what were the values that my parents taught me? Where
Yeah.
were there things that maybe my family, where was there incongruency in those values? Like I had my mom would always say, don't steal. Oh, a thief is, a liar is worse than a thief. And, like, don't lie, don't lie. But unfortunately, I lived in a family where like white lies were going all the time. Like
Yeah.
my dad would tell little white lies. My mom would tell little white lies. Like, that's where I'm saying, like, you have to show, like they were amazing people. They did the best, but there was an incongruency on don't lie, and they practically get a beating for it. But then everybody lied. The
Yes.
adults around me lied, the aunts, the uncles, like everybody. So it was like I had to unpack some of that because that created a lot of confusion inside of me, you know, until
Yeah.
I came to a time where I am going to have integrity in my word. Like that became a value for me. Like my word I am going to have integrity in my word. I am going to live by my word. Like if I say I'm going to do something and I realize at 2 o'clock I'm not going to be able to do that at 5 o'clock, I'm
Yeah.
going to let you know at 2 o'clock. That doesn't mean that I'm going to always be perfect in my word, because life shows up and there's situations. But at 2 o'clock I realized I'm going to be late for you at 5. I'm going to call you and say, listen, I'm sorry, but i'm I'm going to be running late. Like
Mm.
I'm going to clean it up. I want my word to be like, it's such a big important part of who I am. And maybe that for me became bigger than it would for somebody else because of the fact that there were these incongruencies in my childhood around integrity of the word, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it's those kind of things that, like, when I would start telling white lies, because that was my culture and my family, I
Mm.
couldn't live with that. Like, some people can
Oh,
do that. I couldn't. Like me, I don't do well in that. I have a very sensitive nervous system. You know, people have told me I'm very empathic. But when so if I'm out of my word or out of my integrity, I it doesn't work for me. So the more you start learning about yourself, then you start really creating your own values.
oh,
You know, what is, like, you ask yourself, what does self-respect look like? What is, like, real, like, what is a deep level of self-respect? Because if you don't know what self-respect looks like, how are you ever going to teach anybody else to respect you when you
yeah.
don't even know what that looks like for yourself?
Mm.
You know, it's like these kind of things we start getting clarity on who we are, you know, and the code that we live by, you know, the way that we, now again, we're never going to be perfect. You clean it up, we're going to have a human experience, you're doing, and then but it's like how you clean it up, how you um you know, those are the ways in which you start really getting a grasp on who you are, like what makes me happy, like what
Right.
really, really, really makes me happy. And like it can't include money or buying, you know, it has to, like, what brings me like that
Mm.
inner where I'm just like for me, I love being with people. Like when I'm with people and we're having these kind of yummy conversations.
Yeah.
Like I don't swim in no, I'm not always deep because I like to have fun. I love to laugh. I love to
Yeah.
have a good time. But I like to talk about meaningful things, you know. I like that. And let me tell you, there are some people that, you know, that have even said to me, "Oh, Lavinia, I don't like some of the things you talk about. It makes me feel uncomfortable." I'm like, "Okay."
Mm.
Like you're not my person. Like
Yes.
you're not
Yes.
in my tribe. It's okay. I can
Yeah.
only sit around and talk about lipstick and Botox for so long. Like
Yes.
I'm sorry, but like there's a point where that's not going to keep me inspired, you know? So I've had my
Mm.
share of people and I'm okay with that because I know who I am. You know, I'm
Right.
not trying to be everything to everyone.
Oh,
You know,
it starts with knowing you. Yeah.
somebody said something to me the other day and they said, I really want you to mentor me. And I don't really think I'm the best mentor for them. So I said, why? Why do you want me to mentor you? Why are you so? And they're like, because you walk the walk.
Mm.
I hear you speak, and and I know you. That's the walk you walk. And that was like, to me, the best compliment anybody could have ever given me. It was like, I just looked at her. I was like, I'm so moved by that, you know,
Yeah.
like because that's important to me. I want to walk my walk. I love having these talks and I love, but you know, I clean it up. Like you know,
Yeah.
I clean up my
Oh,
side of the street as quickly as I can. I try to,
yes.
at
I,
least.
I love I love that you said take the time to know yourself, to
Yeah.
figure out yourself. Oh, that's amazing. Lavinia, this is like, you don't understand what you're doing to me. Like, I am just so filled up. You have poured everything into me.
Um,
And I'm ready to conquer the world right now because so many things that you've said, it like literally put me in a spot where I had been contemplating it for a while.
mm,
And so I'm like, okay, I was supposed to have this conversation with Lavinia. Now I really need to lean in on me and me becoming a better person. So I'm just so grateful and so happy just to have you in my life, you know.
wow.
And I always like to end these conversations with this thing I call rapid fire. And you talked about up leveling.
Mhm.
That's the reason why I really did this podcast. I was like, I want women to just grow and develop every day, to level up. And so I'm going to say a word,
Okay.
and I just want you to say how a woman could level up, improve herself in that area, or maximize space in that area. So the first word is books.
The Surrender Experiment by
Yeah.
Dr. Michael Singer.
Oh, I've heard great things about him. I need to get that book.
It's an amazing book.
Okay, the surrender experiment. I gotta make sure I add that. The second one is skills.
Vulnerability.
Oh, vulnerability. I love it. I love it. Ah, and you epitomize that in every sense of that word. But it's crazy because some people think vulnerability is weak when it's so strong.
So
It's
strong.
like,
It's
oh,
so
she's
strong. I mean,
powerful.
it's like the
Yeah.
difference of looking at bamboo and oak. Oak looks so much stronger, but
Yeah.
bamboo is so strong, right? It's like
Yeah.
you, yeah,
Oh, I love that. The next one is time.
time. I would say stillness. Be still, but make time for stillness
Yeah.
and alone.
Oh, this is good. This is so good. Energy. Energy.
Energy is just focus on the positive of everything. Always focus on the positive. Don't focus on the negative because the positive will give you a higher vibration. And when you're vibrating and your frequency is a higher vibration, you'll attract things at that vibration. If you're constantly looking at the glass half empty and your energy is like, then you will attract things at that energy. So
Yeah.
you really want to be able to attract at a higher vibration.
At this high. Oh, I love that. Ambition. This one is a hard one, I think.
Ambition.
Ambition, because I think some women are still struggling with this. I was told when I first started my career, oh, you're ambitious, and that's a bad thing. Um, and I'm very ambitious, but it took a long time for me to come to terms with the fact that I'm ambitious, and that could be okay. But I think this is hard for a lot of people. Ambition.
I think I don't resonate with the word ambition, but for me, it's about enthusiasm. Like
Oh,
when you look at the word enthusiastic, it's like with source,
oh
it's
yeah.
with energy. And um, I just feel like for me, it's more about my desire, like my desire for, and I would say, okay, so my one word I would say with ambition would be to always, if it's great to be ambitious, but always bring focus on your ambition and then focus on how can I bring other people up with me.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you don't want it to be all self-absorbed. There's an energy
Mhm.
when it's just about you. Like I had a spiritual teacher that once said, and this is a very shallow example, but he said, listen, it's great if you want to manifest that red Ferrari, but see yourself going down to an area of where there's underprivileged children and see yourself driving them around in your Ferrari.
Oh yeah.
Like, so that's what I would say. Like, you always have to include your how your ambition can serve others
Mm,
as
I
well,
love
you know.
I love that. Oh, Lavinia, you are just oh, I feel like you're preaching because what you're saying, it's like a class, and I'm just taking it all in. It's amazing. I love that. And the last word is the big word, money.
Money. I would say with money, money has a frequency, right? It has a frequency. And I would say I love money. And that's not easy for me to say because For 20 years, I was thinking, oh my God, like fee or free, I'm going to do it. I'm totally fine doing everything for free because I was like, I have enough. I have enough. I don't need it. But I wasn't respecting money. I almost, the way I would talk about it was almost like I wasn't respecting the energy of it. And so today I feel a little bit different. I just would say money is amazing, but have impeccable integrity around money. And don't let money be your master. Don't let money be the thing that drives you. You know, I would, yeah.
Oh, ooh, don't let money be your master. I love that. Oh, Lavinia, this has been incredible. This has been so amazing. Thank you so much
A
for
pleasure.
coming on the podcast. Oh, I love you so much. You're amazing, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life. Thank you.